If you see Deontay Wilder in person, would you still call him a bitch to his face?
Yeah, I would tell him like, hey, man, with all due respect and everything, just you sounding like a bitch. I would talk to him first and tell him why, and then tell him, man, this is why you sound like a bitch. But you're not a bitch. You just sound like one.
Right. That's funny.
If anything, I'm trying to influence the man to tell him the truth. Go back to the gym. You've had too much time in your hands. You know, go get a fight. Right? Go look for a fight, whether it's with Dylan White or someone of those sorts. You know, even if you want that tune-up fight, you could have that, and show everyone why you are still one of the top guys in the heavyweight division. So, if I'm calling someone a bitch, it's just because you are acting like one. You are acting like one. No one cares about how you feel, Deontay. No one does. Even if you put it out there. Oh man, I feel bad that you got a dent on your head. No. This is the fight game. This is war. This is a man's sport. And if you're looking for closure and if you're looking for comfort, you're not gonna get it here. And if anything, people are gonna criticize you for it. So if anything, I'm just trying to look out for the man. And that's the thing though. People are only gonna take one thing that Teofimo said, and that was calling him a bitch.
I just wanted to just say, like, after he made that Deontay Wilder insult, he never had like the confidence to like actually call out his contemporaries and try to be honest with his fans to say that he's just like the unified champion instead of calling himself like the undisputed, because I find that absolutely disrespectful that he tries to shadow out Devin Haney and he thinks he's so great, but it's like, dude, you've only had one good marquee fight, and that's Lomachenko. So either way, it's like you never really had that much tough competition. And I think that for him being so outspoken, he's just not understanding like where he's at on the totem pole of like the boxing political structure, right? And I think he's gonna put himself into that trap where Bob Arum's just going to make him look like a superstar, similar to Lomachenko in a way, but then eventually he's going to get fed to some guy that's going to take his spot one day.
Yeah, like I said, all you got to do is just be honest with the fans. If you feel like Devin is a tough fight and you don't want to fight him now, well, give Devin his credit. Say, hey, listen, this is one of my best rivals. It'd be silly for me to fight him right now. I'll fight him down the line. You know, I don't think people would have got mad at him, but to trash talk Devin and say he an email champion, he this, he that, and then turn around and go elsewhere when you already promised the fans that you were going to fight Devin. But instead, he did an upside-down flip and went elsewhere. That's a bad look on his behalf. And when it comes to that Deontay Wilder comment, he had an interview with Brian Custer in which he said that I will tell Deontay Wilder he's a bitch to his face. But before I tell him he's a bitch, he said he's basically going to say the reason why I think you are a bitch. He said, do this, do that, so on and so forth. That's why you a bitch. And I'm like, man, you know you ain't going to tell that to Deontay Wilder. Like, you know that's just all talk. You know? You know that ain't going to happen. You know you're going to see Deontay Wilder and you be like, man, you know, I ain't mean that. That's just slipped out of my mouth. I mean, obviously, he can't backtrack now. But all I'm going to say to that is he said that people took his words out of context because he was saying Deontay Wilder need to stop making excuses and he need to face reality and prove himself. Go to the gym and prove that you're one of the best heavyweights in the world. But what Teo doesn't realize, that's exactly what Wilder trying to do. Wilder, he stayed solid. He didn't make no excuses. He was trying to fight Tyson Fury in a trilogy match. It wasn't until Tyson Fury pulled out of the trilogy match, not honoring his rematch clause in order to fight a nobody, Kabaili, whoever he is in the UK, instead of fighting Deontay Wilder. That's why Deontay Wilder came out and exposed Tyson Fury for cheating, because he realized, hey, man, this man really don't have no cojones to fight me without cheating the third time since he got exposed for cheating by new media, right? So Teo keeps saying, oh, Wilder need to stop making excuses. Wilder need to prove himself. That's exactly what Wilder trying to do. And Teo said on Brian Custer interview that, you know, Wilder need to fight Dillian White and guys like that. First of all, Wilder called out Dillian White on Brian Custer interview. Wilder called out Usyk and all these fighters. He said, if I can't get Tyson Fury in the ring, I'm willing to fight all these guys. But at the end of the day, it's ironic to me that Teo, he won't say Wilder need to fight Tyson Fury a third time, because that's supposedly the fight he's making excuses for. So Teo should say, well, Wilder needs to prove himself against Tyson Fury for the third time instead of making excuses. But like I said, like I know, I'm pretty sure he knows his homeboy Tyson Fury cheated. The reason why Teo have Tyson Fury back to this extent is because they homeboys. Obviously, Tyson Fury always gave him high praise and all that. But at the end of the day, or at least the night, regardless of how close you are to a particular fighter, if he cheated, you shouldn't stand next to a cheater. Only a cheater stands next to a cheater. So if you're going to back up a cheater, and that's a bad look on your behalf, because if you're a fighter that gets out of the mud, if you're a fighter that knows how it feels to get it from the bottom through blood, sweat, and tears, and all the above, if you're that type of a fighter, you will never back up or co-sign a fighter for cheating and try to have his back just to please the decafs and the casual fans who hit up your comment section daily. That's a huge bad look on Teo's behalf. That's why when he says things like Wilder need to do this, Wilder need to do that, Wilder need to stop making excuses. Again, Wilder is not making excuses. Wilder is pointing out that he got cheated. Getting cheated and making excuses are two different things. And Wilder is such a warrior. He want to get his revenge not in the courtroom. He want to get his revenge with his own hands in the ring. So instead of Teo acknowledging that Deontay Wilder is a warrior, he calls him a bitch. But the only bitch there is karma, because karma is a bitch. And Wilder told Teo that be careful with what you say, because the same thing could happen to you. It's all fun and games until you the one getting cheated. Then you want the world to know, oh, man, I got cheated. Oh, man, this and that. Like I said, I didn't hear nobody call Cotto a bitch because he pointed out Margarito cheated. Everybody said Cotto was a madman when he was claiming that Margarito cheated. Now they want to say, oh, well, it's different because the commission is there. They learn from their mistake. The commission never learned from their mistake, because Rusto cheated, Margarito cheated, Maidana cheated. And just last week, Foster opponent Roman, he almost cheated. The commission proved his gloves that were tampered with. And it was Foster trainer Bobby Benton who actually caught his tampered glove. And then they threw out both pairs. It wasn't the commission. It was the trainer. Just to prove that there's holes in the system that fighters could get away with. And we already know Tyson Fury cut off the camera in the dressing room. We already know people lie, women lie, your eyes don't lie. And we could see Tyson Fury bare knuckles, 1, 2, 3, 4 knuckles on his right glove. His left hand bending in 90 degrees. So if you can't explain the allegations, how you going to call Deontay Wilder the B word? Remember, it ain't just Wilder who exposed Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury's own sparring partner, Nicholas Asbury, he came out and pointed out that Tyson Fury was cheating against him in sparring. He tampered against him in sparring. And also, there's another witness, Coach Asbury. He said that he witnessed Tyson Fury cheat. He confirmed it. And he said that when he confirmed Tyson Fury team about cheating, all they had to say in return was, well, listen, at the end of the day, or at least the night, we try to give Tyson Fury confidence. So apparently Tyson Fury confidence is all a persona, is all fake. He don't have no confidence because they try to give him confidence in training. But we know what time it is. They weren't trying to give him confidence. They were trying to get him used to having power so he could take advantage of having power in the ring. So he knows how it feels to having power, so he could take advantage of having power since he's a pillow-fisted fighter. And we already know what time it is. Tyson Fury practices sparring in order to execute fight night. And that's pretty much what he did. So apparently Nicholas Asbury lying. What does Asbury benefits from lying? The coach is lying too. They have all of this on footage. So like I said before, people lie, women lie, your eyes don't lie. And I'm sick and tired of these Tyson Fury fans, because they really not Tyson Fury fans. They just Deontay Wilder haters. Mr. Mechanical Teo was okay until lately just another top-ranked simp. Yeah, I think Teo just need to get it together. So, yeah, what's your take on all of that?
Oh, wow, that's a lot to unpack. Honestly, just imagine if Wilder had died from that second rematch with Fury, and his brother or anybody out of his team found out that Fury cheated, that would be like the biggest court case ever. But on top of that, that would be like the most racist piece of shit scandal that anybody would ever find out, that to be the best, you have to kill your toughest opponents, knowing that you're not as good as them, to make yourself look like you're the greatest in the world. And for a sport like boxing, that should be uncalled for, and that needs to be taken seriously, because, like, you know, people try to say so much crap about all these boxers, you know, that they have beef against, but it's like they never realize that this is a sport where you can die with just one single punch. Boxing is not a sport that you just go out and play with like your friends
and have fun.
And with these fighters, to give that entertainment to you, the fan, that just makes it 10 times more difficult for people to understand that these fighters put their lives on the line, and for people to disrespect fighters that try to work hard to be the best, that's just absolutely disgusting, because Wilder, he proved to millions of people, if not billions, around the world that he is a fair, clean fighter. But for all these disrespectful haters that want to put him down, like as if he's not even that credible in the game, it's like, this guy has knocked out 41 out of his 42 opponents. Like, seriously, he's that good of a boxer, but yet you still disrespect him. Also, on top of that, if he had beat Fury in the rematch, he would have broke Muhammad Ali's record for most title defenses. Like, honestly, there had to have been some form of corruption, like, by the WBC to prevent that, because they just don't want guys like Deontay Wilder to be successful and actually make such a huge influence for the sport that people, you know, love to see guys put their lives on the line, you know, when clearly, you know, they just don't give those people that same respect. So it's just like, you know, this needs to be taken seriously, and people like Fury need to be banned. You know, these guys need to get thrown in jail, and, like, you know, there needs to be more accountability in boxing, because you don't hear this out of the NBA, you don't hear this out of the MLB, you don't hear this out of any other major sport but boxing. Why does boxing have to get like a pass when people do crazy stuff like this? That needs to be taken out. Like, honestly, at the end of the day, if you're going to watch like a sport and you want to make sure that you see people come out safe, then you have to have that same respect as a consumer to make sure that people are safe, not people getting killed.
You brought up a lot of great points, that boxing is putting a black eye on the sport of boxing, pretty much, you know, because like you pointed out, you don't play boxing. You know, you could play any sport, but you don't play boxing. You have to have two cojones to hop in the ring. That's why I will always have tremendous respect to any fighter that step in the ring. That's why I'm highly disappointed in Teo. I'll be honest with you. I'm one of his biggest fans, but I'm really disappointed in Teo because I really didn't see this coming from him. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the Lomachenko win. I don't know if it's the Tyson Fury love. I don't know what it is. But at the end of the day, this was an attempted murder. It puts a black eye on the sport of boxing because obviously to be a champion, you could be a champion. I could be a champion. Anybody could be a champion. A champion is a person that works hard every day to become something, that deals with adversity and prevails. That's a champion. Everybody has a champion inside of them. So when a fighter is a world champion, he's a great role model because he defeated all odds. So when Tyson Fury cheated against Deontay Wilder, what taught the world is that, hey, listen, you could be a champion by cheating. You could take a shortcut to success. You don't got to get it out of the mud. You could take steroids to lose weight. You could tamper with your gloves in order to get an advantage against your opponent. That's why in the sport of boxing, both fighters have to be on an even playing field because boxing is already dangerous enough. There's plenty of fighters that died in the ring. Muhammad Ali used to say, if you fight me, increase your insurance. Decades later, Deontay Wilder said, I'm trying to catch your body. He said it in a more vicious fashion, but the point is, they pretty much said the same thing. However, the WBC criticized Wilder for making those comments. But the WBC also defending Tyson Fury for cheating blind, claiming the commission was there when the same commission approved Foster opponent gloves Roman. So that's just to prove the corruption that's going on in the sport of boxing. And that's just the double standards that fighters on the coincidentalists deal with. That's why, like I said, I was highly disappointed to hear Teofimo Lopez, you know, defend the cheater and call the warrior a bitch. The man that's trying to avenge his loss. Like I said, just like Teo, he had a foot injury against Lomachenko. Wilder had a bicep injury against Tyson Fury, but he didn't use that as an excuse. He didn't say, listen, I suffered a bicep injury right before the fight, a week before the fight. He didn't say that. It was his sparring partner that came out with that. But Wilder didn't make no excuses. All Wilder did is point out the truth, the absolute truth, the fact that he got cheated. So for Teo to go out of his way, and I know why he did it, because that's the only explanation to me, is that maybe he's trying to cater in to all the decafs that flood his comment section. But you got to really be careful with that, because see, comments, all these trolls, they remain anonymous. So they could say whatever. What they say don't matter, because there's no face, there's no name attached to it. But when you say it, the most dangerous weapon in the world is a microphone and a camera. And now Teo looking crazy trying to explain himself, claiming that he gonna tell Wilder that he a bitch to his face.
Yeah, Deontay's gonna knock him out.
And you know, it's crazy, you know, because see, as a fighter, your hand is registered, so it's a weapon, right? So if a fan calls a fighter the B word, the fighter can't even hit the fan, really, because obviously he gets sued. It's like you shot the man literally with the gun. So it's like a come up for a fan. That's why fighters have security guards all the time with them, because they're trying to avoid bullshit, right? But when Wilder's a fighter and Teo a fighter, that gives Wilder a pass to do whatever. You know what I mean? I'm not saying Wilder's going to do something to him, but all I'm saying is I know Teo won't call Wilder the B word to his face. Like I said, I just think he messed up, but he should man up to it instead of continuing to trying to justify some BS by claiming that Wilder needs to do something that he's already doing, which is trying to pursue the trilogy match with Tyson Fury, something that Teo didn't even point out, which is Tyson Fury trying to avoid the trilogy. Before Wilder came out and even exposed him, he came out and lied, said the rematch clause is expired, when Fox and ESPN had a mutual agreement to push the fight on to January 21. But it's clear as day, he knew Wilder already was informed about Tyson Fury cheating, so he had no other way to cheat, because his method of cheating got exposed. So he tried to avoid the trilogy because he do not want to get exposed in the ring. And like I said, you know, what goes around come back around. And Tyson Fury cannot live with that going into the ring with Wilder, knowing he nearly killed him the first time they fought when he tampered with his left hand alone. That's why he had to up the scale and tamper with both hands.
I just want to say, to hell with Tyson Fury. I hope Wilder does the same exact thing to him, but in a more fair, more brutal fashion. Thank you for everything that you're doing. I also try to do my part to share about the same amount of information for what I hear. And honestly, I think more boxing fans really need to come out and start exposing this dirty crap in boxing, because like boxing is a very dangerous sport, and what the worst that comes out of it is just people like Fury cheating. And I just find that to be absolutely horrid and disrespectful to all the fighters that actually put in their hard work and talent to showcase their skills, to give the fans what we want. And I mean, if you really care about the sport, you should really be pushing for more
justice,
competitive innovations to clean up like all the bad crap that is in the sport.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Great talking with you, my brother. How you doing, AKHi? Who this is, and where are you calling from?
Oh, hey, what's going on, big man? How you doing?
I'm doing great. Talk to me.
This is Dave. I'm calling from Miami. And what you said previously to the other gentleman was very, it was very impactful, because I believe that, Deontay Wilder was in fact cheated. For those out there who don't believe otherwise, the proof is in the pudding. We all know that boxing is a corrupt sport. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's why they call it a World Boxing Corruption Organization. It's so corrupt, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And for Teofimo Lopez to sit here and talk to another American fighter that way, that just shows that American fighters really don't have the support. Do you agree or disagree?
Oh, 100%. I mean, Errol Spence talked about it too, that us Americans don't support each other. That how can you root for an outside fighter against your own? You will never see Anthony Joshua root against Kell Brook. You'll never see Anthony Joshua, regardless of how much he liked Errol Spence, he will never say, oh, Errol Spence, man, good luck, man. I hope you beat the crap out of my man, Kell Brook. You'll never see that, because Teo have been doing that a lot lately. You see him pulling for Kell Brook against Terrence Crawford when he knows Terrence personally, when Terrence always had high praise for Teo. You see Teo also pull for Tyson Fury. I know Tyson Fury in that incident, he always praised him, and I don't know what's his relationship with Kell Brook. But again, you see a lot of fighters from the United States root for fighters from the outside against their own countrymen from their own soil. And it's one thing to do that. I give you a pass if you know a fighter personally. I will always give a fighter a pass. If he knows Tyson Fury personally more than he knows Deontay Wilder, so be it. If he knows Kell Brook more than he knows Terrence Crawford, so be it. But you stand next to the fighter that cheated against a fighter from your own soil, nah, that's a huge bad look, man. I can't explain that. He got to explain himself on that part.
I'm pretty. Hold it, you're not that pretty. I'm a bad man. Wait. I shook up the world. I shook up the world. I shook up the world.
I bear witness, there's only one God, Allah, and Muhammad is his final messenger. That's what I said, Larry, on the Bungle fight. Thanking you.
They call me the problem, but you could call me the can man, because anybody can get it. Africans, Americans, Dominicans, Mexicans, anybody can get it.